Hey wrestling fans, it's Sean from the Scumbags of Wrestling. It might not look like Christmas right now, but it is around the corner, and you won't want to miss out on this amazing deal in support of Sick Kids Hospital on behalf of Steven's Wrestling Journey. Right now, if you contact me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com, you'll get this amazing t-shirt designed by Nigel Lewis for just $30. And because it's Christmas, I'm going to throw in this stocking stuffer of a poster, 11 by 17, for free. Now you can still get this poster for $15, but you can get the whole combo for $30 right now until December 15th. So contact me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com and support Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto and Steven's Wrestling Journey. And we are live. This is episode number 132 of the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast, and we're coming to you from London, Ontario. I want to welcome everybody, whether they're watching us on Twitch, YouTube, or on Facebook Live. Please join in on the conversation. We'll include you along the way. Today we're going to look over some news, look back at Dynamite from last night, NXT TakeOver War Games, look ahead to TLC, and of course, wrap it up with This Week in History. But we can't do that until we bring in our panelists. So, from Niagara Falls, Jonesy, how are you tonight?
I am fantastic. How are you?
Not too bad. Had a job evaluation thing that went a whole 7 minutes on a choppy internet thing. So, great review. I'm still around, and we're doing wrestling talk. So, it is what it is, and just kind of get through the whole COVID stuff. And
is that your egos?
No, it's my phone. It sounds like a microwave. I know, because every time I get a notification, which I'm going to shut off in just a moment, but I'm bringing in, returning from Toronto after vacating to London, Steven, how are you?
Good. It's good to be back. It's been a hectic few months with COVID and the changing rules everywhere and trying to figure out everything. But the vaccine's approved and starting in Ontario next Tuesday to give out the vaccine. So, oh Lord, hopefully I can see wrestling in 2021.
We'll see what happens and how fast things get going around here in Ontario and who is in line up first and prioritized and everything. Might be a longer journey, but hopefully they find some way of doing it that, as you said, wrestling returns on the indie scene in 2021. Though there is some indie wrestling going on. Might as well jump into it right now before we go into major things like AEW and WWE news. Go Hard Pro is Holden Albright's puppy, which is also Brendan Caulfield, however you know him. And he did some fundraising with crowdfunding. And Go Hard Pro is going to do their first show, a free one, somewhat, thanks to everybody who sponsored, though. And that's going to happen on Christmas Eve on YouTube. This week he did a couple of announcements, including talent of Alejandro Del Bruno. Pretty Ricky Wilde is going to be there. There were some camera guys announced. Buzz Media Productions. Brad Myers is going to be there. So whether he's just reffing or if he gets involved, Alexia Nicole, Tony Adams, Von Vertigo. You got hacker Scotty O'Shea. Of course, Holden Albright will be a part of it. And many more as it gets going. But that's going to be on Christmas Eve on YouTube. Steven, your thoughts on that show?
It's interesting. I mean, I'm hoping that it's not all comedy, which is my biggest fear, but I'm excited. I'll watch. I know privately, originally we had talked about doing it. I will be right back, guys. My computer has frozen.
Yeah, I was going to say, you look a little bit frozen to me. I'm going to drop you out and then we'll come back in. Jonesy, your thoughts on this show by Go Hard Pro?
It's interesting to see how many different ways people are trying to do events, not just wrestling. I really thought that someone would have done a drive-in series by now, but it'll be interesting to see how they do it and go forward. And I don't see any big indie shows until I would say the end of summer in 2021.
Yeah, especially in this area. Barry Wrestling's going to be doing a talent show, I believe, also. And there was also an announcement that Hamilton Wrestling was going to be doing a show, I believe, free for New Year's as a thank you to fans. Another sort of pay-per-view that they did a couple of weeks ago for $14 or something. But yeah, definitely Go Hard Pro with Holden Albright, and everybody is going to be happening, as I said, Christmas Eve. And I wish them success. Hopefully there's not any restrictions on them and they have found a way of doing it all without having to shut down. That'd be a shame if all this effort is for naught. But yeah, so we wish them luck. Steven is rebooting issues, so we're going to look at stuff after. Chad Peterson ended up sending a message saying that SmackDown is going to be at that stadium this Friday. Going to be interesting to see what it's going to look like. There was pictures put up about what it's going to be. It's Tropicana Field that they're moving to because they had to leave the Amway Center after Raw this week. And they've been working on setting up the Tropicana Field. But it's almost as though they're putting how you've seen the outdoor arena shows for hockey, the Winter Classics, where you got a ice rink in the middle of a ballpark or football stadium. It looks somewhat like it's going to be that sort of setup for the new Thunderdome at Tropicana Field. So they're not using the stadium seating that you would get for baseball. They're putting in their own bleachers and stuff like that, where obviously the TV monitors are going to be that you would normally see for the Thunderdome. And so that's supposed to debut this Friday, and we'll see if they do any tweaks or changes from what we saw at the Amway Center, or if it's just going to be same replication of what that was. Steven seems to be moving again and having a contact. So, Steven, we moved on from Go Hard Pro. If you want to backtrack and talk about that, but we're also talking about the fact that SmackDown is going to be debuting their the new Thunderdome, or the moved Thunderdome, at Tropicana Field this Friday.
Is it this week? I thought it was next week. Regardless, I'm actually kind of excited to see if they've made any improvements or changes. I mean, hopefully they've learned some stuff from the Thunderdome that they've had now. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if they've made any improvements, made it a little different. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting.
I know Vince wants to eventually get some fans in there, so I don't know how they'll do it. But as I said, as you were logging back in, it almost looks like how you would see the Winter Classics for the NHL if they were in a baseball stadium or a football stadium, where their rink is put in just the middle of it. It looks like they're doing the same thing with the Thunderdome and with using bleachers and stuff. So if they're adding any new elements, we'll have to see tomorrow night on SmackDown. Jonesy, your thoughts?
Personally, I don't give a hoop-de-doo. I think it looks silly with a whole bunch of little people and screens. I'd rather it look the way it did at the very beginning, which to me looked more like an actual video game. I thought was really a lot neater. I do, though, however, respect the staging in which they're putting up and the lighting. That stuff excites me more than the actual wrestling event itself. That's an expensive setup that they're doing, and it's impressive. It's kind of it's in a way a kind of some old Star Trek episodes and that, especially the one with The Rock in Voyager. I believe that was that way, where the audience is actually somewhere else watching it, and the fighters are in an empty arena, and then they just put the two together, and that's what the actual people watching on TV see. And they're pretty much doing the same thing now, just a little different, but same kind of concept, and it's neat.
Yeah, Impact Wrestling is still doing the other way with no fans at all, or even not even monitors, and just light show for staging and that. But
But Impact was taped a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's why this past Tuesday, all those things were just inserts that AEW ended up doing. So if you decided to watch Impact thinking you're going to get something special, all the stuff that AEW did extra with them was pre-recorded and inserted and available on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and everything. So if you're a follower of Impact, great. You still got
one of 10 people.
Some extra stuff, but if not, I don't know if that show was enough to bring in people to return for Impact next week. So looking at some of the news that after AEW did what they did last week during Winter's Coming and having the connection between Impact and AEW, Triple H was asked during the press conference for TakeOver about them working with other companies, and he said, "We're open for business, but at the same time, it has to benefit them in long term." They've worked with people like Progress, they've worked with Evolve, WXW, and even back in the 90s, they worked with ECW. So it's not out of the realm for WWE to work with somebody else. It just has to benefit them. But who's out there that can benefit WWE when you're the number one company in the world? Charlotte Flair is...
I think someone like... I think MLW.
Maybe, yeah.
They have some guys. Jacob Fatu is the one that Richard Holiday, Alexander Hammerstone. They have some young guys that WWE could ever get, would change the product.
Yeah, but I would end up just hooking up NXT with any of those groups over Raw and SmackDown. They benefit probably the best that way and get their best utilization with a connection with NXT. Charlotte Flair is due back, I guess, on December 21st, the night after TLC. She's been off due to a medical procedure she had done, probably more implants or something. And she's also been filming Punky Brewster, the reboot of that with also Alexa Bliss. But there's talk that she'll be teamed up with Andrade to give him sort of a rub, and they'll be like a power couple probably on Raw. Sting is going to be with AEW for a long while. He signed a big money deal with Tony Khan, and so he's already teased some interaction last night with Darby Allin and even Cody, but he's expected to be on TV as a regular character. At the same time, he's 61 years old, hasn't wrestled in 5 years after he openly admitted he botched the move that Seth Rollins gave with the buckle bomb. But I guess he signed over with AEW because he didn't get what he wanted, was a cinematic match with Undertaker. And I'm sort of glad that that didn't happen, because regardless of their ages, a cinematic match as well, who do you put over in that sort of situation because of Undertaker versus Sting? So I think it's best to leave that as a match that never happened and be happy that it didn't, because who loses and wins in that one? Maybe if they teamed up against somebody, that'd be a different story. But yeah, I guess it's a good thing. I just don't know about him being in AEW for long periods of time. Your thoughts, Steven and Chris?
I would care maybe 10 years ago, but I don't even care. Oh yes, the Von Erichs in MLW. I still think they'll end up in WWE eventually, but I don't actually care. Sting's in AEW. Any match is going to be a cinematic thing. Like, even there's no one that, yeah, he can't have a regular wrestling match, so it's going to be cinematic and it's going to be boring. And yeah,
Unless Sting is coming down from oh man, what's the place called? Something place.
Daly's Place?
Daly's Place?
Daly's Place, that's it. Unless they have him swinging away on a wire somewhere, it's absolutely stupid. And I'm glad for AEW that they got this. And I'm glad that Tony Khan is going to put more money into old stuff, old product. And it just proves that AEW is not going to be around for a long time. They are going to be bought, sold, or go bankrupt eventually, because they're doing the same thing that Turner and everyone else has done, is getting old stars, trying to use old ideas to create something new, and it doesn't work. It hasn't worked for years. But if they want to do it, go for it. But you know what? It gives me another reason not to want to watch their regular show. I'll watch Dark, but their regular crap, blah.
It's another money mark throwing his money at wrestling and trying to relive the WCW years. The nostalgia will wear off really quickly, and
they have sunk lower than TNA when Sting and Hogan and them were there.
True, but they still want to have some connections with other organizations, and whether it's Ring of Honor, AAA,
and that's good, but you don't get old farts.
That's the biggest problem.
I would be okay if he was brought in to be a coach or something to work with some of their guys, but to be on TV, I do not understand. Even if he was brought in to be like the general manager, something like that, I could live with it, but he's going to wrestle. It's going to be bad. And no, Impact and AEW is not interesting. They're going to probably merge. I'm assuming AEW is going to buy Impact.
They had a chance before to do that.
Well, here's my theory. AEW will buy Impact because when TNT kicks AEW off their airways, they need somewhere to go.
True. But
I'm not even interested in this crossover bullshit. I'm interested in a few matchups. The Good Brothers. I'm really interested in the North versus FTR. Is there anyone else I'm interested in? There's nothing else I'm really interested in.
Yeah, it's very
a disaster.
That's the thing. Like, Impact Wrestling has decent talent, but going AEW versus Impact, there's nothing like how you would see WWE versus WCW and dream matches to look forward to. And AEW really doesn't benefit anything from having a relationship with Impact.
So has Scott Snyder showed up in AEW yet?
Oh, give it a. I'm assuming at the end of the year, they'll have Scott Steiner show up because that's just how this is going. I mean, the only matchup I'm really interested in is the North versus FTR. Two great old school style tag teams. I think that would be an amazing matchup. That's it. Everything else is, I can't think of anything that I'm like, ooh, I have to watch.
So what about even CM Punk? He was on Renee Paquette's Oral Sessions podcast this week, and she asked what would it take for you to return to the ring, and he said it'd have to be some really good storyline, good matchups where he's never gone against certain people before. He mentioned Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. He wasn't interested in like a John Moxley match or anything like that, and either WWE or AEW would have to also pull up a big truckload of cash for it to happen. Do you see it happening from either company, or is just CM Punk talking things just to be out there?
He's stirring the pot. What does he get? What is AEW going to offer him? $1 million? Cool. They'll never get their money back. Punk hasn't wrestled in how many years? 15?
Almost 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because his last match was at the Royal Rumble in 2014 in Pittsburgh. Jonesy and I were there for that one.
I have zero. I mean, I just don't see the matchups in AEW.
And Doug that AEW needs Impact's women's division badly. AEW needs anybody's women's division badly. We already seen that the NWA has outdone AEW's women's division, and definitely the Impact women's division could outdo the AEW women's division. That is definitely their weakest point. And
why do you need a women's division?
Kenny Omega is leading the women's division.
Dump the women's division. Just dump it. If you're not a big dog, dump it. You have a couple ladies come in and do a match, and that's it. Like the old Moolah days. Moolah would just show up with her belt once in a while on TV. There you go. It's still around. Like, honestly, most, especially, like, I don't know, for myself, I could care less about the women's divisions in most. The women's match is fine, but the actual divisions, who cares? They cannot give the same performance that men do. And it's nothing to do with sex, it's to do with ability. And I'm telling you, women have put on some great matches. I watched that War Games from last year, NXT with the women. It was fantastic. But you're going to find a better one done with men. No offense to the ladies out there. I think they're great. But women's wrestling, to me, have your own separate thing. Mix in once in a while. But that's it. It doesn't... All it sells is TNA. And that's one reason why I don't like a lot of women's wrestling, because they always go with the silly TNA screeching shit. Anyways, there's my rant for the evening.
There you go. Well, some of it has been a lot better, though, over the years since the Revolution. But because they're at least able to wrestle, as opposed to being pillow fighters and bra and panties matches. But yeah, AEW, another message from Chad. Just get this. AEW is still not
I
good.
disagree, Chad Patterson. Chad Patterson, AEW Dark. It is fantastic. And I like older school wrestling, not like really old, but like Saturday, WCW Saturday Night. It's very similar to that. It has that same feel. And I'm telling you, Taz and Excalibur are, I think, the best broadcast team, in my opinion, for me. I'm sure not for everyone, but for me, they are just fantastic. They actually will point out the mistakes in the match. and they're very good in how they do that. I can listen and watch Dark all day long.
Are you going to watch Dark when it goes on TBS or whatever Turner station they've convinced
Yeah.
that they can buy time on?
Only if I can still get it for free, or it comes with what I already got.
I can watch it for free, and I don't, because I'd rather save my time from screaming at a screen.
So moving on, though, the Forgotten Sons tag team that was down in NXT got moved up to SmackDown. They're no more. Earlier this year, Jackson Riker made comments about Black Lives Matter being garbage, and they were quickly removed from TV. And so we hadn't seen them for a bit until this past Friday, when Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler were brought back up to TV and put alongside Baron Corbin, and helped him win the match against Murphy, who had the Mysterios in his corner. It looks like Corbin has got himself a new stable in this regards, but at the same time, it was thought that Jackson Riker was going to be released by WWE after his comments, and that's why they got taken off. But he just got put on the Raw brand and showed up on main event alongside Elias. So looks like they're going to team Riker with Elias. But I guess they got, hopefully, the stink off of them for the comments that Riker made about Black Lives Matter. AEW and WWE are still interested in signing Tessa Blanchard. However, they're both apparently waiting until life gets back to normal before offering her an actual contract. But at the same time, she's happily in Mexico with Daga after just recently getting married. He's, though, looking to join MLW. It'll be interesting to see if MLW swoops in and picks up Tessa Blanchard and gets the scoop on AEW and WWE, allowing the husband and wife duo to stay together and work in the same company. There's talk that charges against Alberto Del Rio have been dropped after the victim apologized, but that doesn't seem to be true after all, and the trial is still set for January 25th, where this guy hopefully gets what he has coming to him after being such a dirtbag.
I sure do hope he shows up, though, at court in a nice vehicle, with his scarf.
Get Rodriguez to drive him.
Absolutely.
Congratulations goes out to Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins with the birth of their daughter named Rue. It is unknown how long either of them are going to be away from the ring now that the baby is there. But I bet Vince is chomping at the bit to get them both back in the ring as soon as possible. Dez and Wentz from the Rascals signed with WWE, and they were introduced last week as some of the newest recruits at the PC. And there was talk of why Trey hasn't joined them, the other third of the Rascals. But he made a statement that his nephew was born premature and is taking care of family first before doing wrestling. There's still no definitive answer if he's also dealing with AEW and just playing his options, or if he's going to join his Rascals brethren and eventually show up at the PC. But who knows? And at the top of the show, you talked about Goldberg, Jonesy, or before we went on there, I wanted to talk about that. And Goldberg was on the bump yesterday morning, and he decided to call out Roman Reigns and basically said the fact that he didn't get his match against each other at WrestleMania. He stole Roman, and Roman has stolen Goldberg's spear. He's subpar wrestler and all this other stuff, and said, "You're next." And even at age 53, he's willing to step into the ring and take out the tribal chief and everything. And Roman has responded by saying that Goldberg doesn't get to choose who's next. He gets to choose who he goes against, and that'll be Kevin Owens at TLC. Does anybody really want to see Goldberg and Roman, even with Roman being a heel now?
Yes, I do. I want to see Goldberg go in there and destroy him real quick, because that's what should happen. The way that they bill, they Bill Goldberg, but no, they won't do it that way. Part of me thinks, though, because it was supposed to happen at last year's WrestleMania, if it happened this year's WrestleMania, perhaps that's how they would work The Rock into it and kind of smooth over whatever film he's working on at the time, so that he would be less likely to actually get hurt if they made it some kind of triple threat match or something like that, where he can take breaks in between, where they can knock him out for part of the match so he doesn't have to do more than what he can.
Yeah, but at the same time, the Goldberg was promoting a documentary that's going to be on the network, which is highlighting, yes, the WCW streak. But I think also with the timing, maybe they're going to set up Roman against Goldberg for just the Royal Rumble. It's one of their major 10 post ones, and save somebody bigger, whether it's a Daniel Bryan, a Drew McIntyre, or The Rock for WrestleMania to go against Roman Reigns.
I honestly don't. Fuck. I love Roman Reigns as a heel, but motherfucker, why the fuck is Goldberg? Really? You're telling me you can't find someone who's, who on your active normal roster? God damn it.
I think he's kind of become like that contract that Kiss had with their wrestler, where, okay, we have to have a special, he has to be in a main event. We'll have 2 co-main events. Maybe that's what they have with Goldberg now.
Well, sadly, he has a 2-match deal per year.
I will give Goldberg something. If you do watch the show The Goldbergs, he is fantastic in that. It actually suits him. He is funny in it. He's well used in that.
You're a dick.
Who's a dick?
Yeah.
Okay. We've talked enough about Kenny Omega going around. He wants to be a belt collector and possibly go to different organizations to pick up their titles. Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone did a mock commercial on Impact, basically insulting the brand, and Tony made reference to buying Impact Wrestling. Viewership was up for this week's Impact, but I don't know if it's going to maintain people going forward next week. And Angel Garza could be bringing in Eva Marie to Raw. She apparently signed a long while ago, and finally the woman that he's been handing roses to finally took the rose on Raw. We saw her hand, and then I guess earlier this week, Eva Marie posted a picture of her holding roses. So that could be a red herring that she's coming to be on Raw and be with Angel Garza. Looking at NXT War Games, Chad has put up a post here about how fantastic it was. A great match.
Hold on.
This match was nonstop, but jump off the cage with the garbage can. You don't see that. I don't want to see Io Shirai or anybody jump off a cage with a garbage can on them. That War Games was just crazy. The women can go in that. It was good to a certain extent, but not always bringing out the plunder. That was what made War Games so good, was them technically wrestling, and the plunder didn't come in until it was a chain or something, or a spike from the Road Warriors, until the very end when they made J.J. Dillon submit. Beyond that, it was pure wrestling. Now you got in NXT, each one of these war games lately is getting garbage just brought in and kendo sticks and stuff like that. I don't get it. Let it be a grudge match wrestling. But Jonesy, you're going to say something?
Just something you said there, saying that basically that the tradition or the older war games was about the wrestling. What are you talking about? There was very little wrestling in a lot of those war games.
Well,
A lot of war games, I'm telling you, are boring as shit to watch. They were exciting at their time, but now compared to what, like again, I watched last year's NXT war games, and I thought both male and female matches were better than any war game matches that WCW NWA ever put on. And as far as using a garbage can, doing it off the cage, my only thing would be I'd have to see why she climbed on the cage, because even as great as Hell in the Cell is, having them go up there, it didn't make sense for the match itself.
yeah, in this case, Io Shirai couldn't make it into the ring because when it was her turn to get down there out of the shark cage, she ended up getting ladders and put them in, tried to get into the ring, got kicked out. She tried to climb up the side of the cage to get in, got knocked down. Finally, she did make it to the top of the rim of the cage and had a garbage can there, put it on top of her, and then dove onto all the women waiting to catch her.
And you know what? I give that, she got balls for doing that. That's like Japanese hardcore stuff there. That's good.
So, Chad, you're fucking nuts. The War Games was not great. The men's started okay. But if that's what you think is good wrestling, you fucking dumb.
The War Games for the men should have ended after McAfee took the sunrise from Adam Cole. Instead, they kept on kicking out and going further. Just going over the results, though, Legado del Fantasma defeated Kurt Stallion, Ashante the Adonis, and August Gray in six-man tag team action as a dark match. Then it was the women's War Games with Team Candice defeating Team Shotzi when Raquel Gonzalez ended up beating Io Shirai. That match lasted 35 minutes and 22 seconds. Tommaso Ciampa ended up defeating Timothy Thatcher in a pure wrestling match, basically, that lasted about 16 minutes. Dexter Lumis beat Cameron Grimes by submission in a strap match. So this was a strap match that didn't have them having to touch all four corners. Hopefully that's the end of their feud with each other. Johnny Gargano had a whole bunch of people interfere on his behalf, including, I can't think of it, Austin Theory, and he ended up getting the North American title back for the third time, beating Leon Ruff and Damian Priest. And then, of course, the Undisputed Era defeated Team McAfee in the War Games match main event.
Honestly, I think the men's War Games match should have ended when McAfee came off the top.
Yeah. Either they get picked up the win, or McAfee could have ended up losing. But yeah, the McAfee though, for being a football player, he's got a good way of cutting a promo. I don't like the guy that way or anything like that, but he's doing what he needs to do. And then he even showed up on his own podcast the other day wearing a neck brace while then talking about football. So he's living it, and you got to give him kudos on that. WWE's next offering for pay-per-view is TLC on the 20th. Got Drew McIntyre against AJ Styles. And, of course, that's going to be a TLC match for no particular reason. The Fiend is going to go against Randy Orton in a singles match. I don't know after this past Monday if we actually want to see that. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are defending their tag team titles against Asuka and Lana, and that's probably going to end up being a tables match, the way they've been constantly putting Lana through a table. Roman Reigns is going to go against Kevin Owens for the Universal title in a TLC match as well. Sasha against Carmella for the SmackDown Women's Championship. That doesn't have a stipulation to it yet. And New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods are going to defend their tag team titles from Raw against the Hurt Business, and that has yet to get a stipulation on it. So that's what's going on with WWE and TLC coming up on the 20th of December. And, of course, last night, AEW had Dynamite. The Young Bucks ended up being TH2. There was interaction with the Acclaim and also SCU. There was a couple of different things, including Cody showing up and getting talked to by Sting. Sting really didn't say why he's there, just hinted at Darby Allin stuff. FTR defeated the Varsity Blondes, Brian Pillman and Griff Garrison. They talked about Brian Pillman Sr., comparing him to his son Jr., and even talked about the Varsity Blondes being like how Brian was part of the Hollywood Blondes with Steve Austin. So that happened. The Dark Order still trying to get Hangman Page on their side. Dustin Rhodes, the sort of funny part I will give them was Dustin Rhodes beat Dark Order member 10, and Evil Uno came in to try and recruit Dustin for the Dark Order, saying he's the third most popular Rhodes in AEW, and if he were to join Dark Order, he could be 7, which was his name in WCW, that he instantly trashed the night of his debut when he floated to the ring and everything. So they came back to that. The show at the end ended up with Orange Cassidy losing to MJF, and MJF is retaining the Diamond Ring. Earlier in the night, the Inner Circle decided to stay together, and yeah, that's basically everything that's happened in AEW, NXT, and news. Anything you guys want to add before we go over to this week in history?
The Varsity Blondes actually intrigued me because that has potential. Other than that, the show, I didn't watch it. I've read about what happened. I'm happy I didn't watch it. It probably would have thrown something through my television.
Yeah, they're promising a lot of things with Sting and Callis and Omega, and you got a whole lot of nothing. It was a lot of bait and switch.
Yeah. Well, I'm out while you guys do history because I got to continue to do some work.
Take care. We will talk to you soon, and in the new year, hopefully get Fantasy Warfare back up and running. So have a good night.
We'll be in lockdown. It won't matter by then. Okay, bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
Hey, wrestling fans, it's Sean from the Scumbags of Wrestling. It might not look like Christmas right now, but it is around the corner, and you won't want to miss out on this amazing deal in support of Sick Kids Hospital on behalf of Steven's Wrestling Journey. Right now, if you contact me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com, you'll get this amazing t-shirt designed by Nigel Lewis for just $30. And because it's Christmas, I'm going to throw in this stocking stuffer of a poster, 11 by 17, for free. Now you can still get this poster for $15, but you can get the whole combo for $30 right now until December 15th. So contact me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com and support Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto and Steven's Wrestling Journey.
Okay, we're back after that brief break. And before I do turn it over to Jonesy, just a reminder that those who voted and those who are interested, the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, presented by CWN, has finished their voting on November 30th. The votes are being tabulated, and there'll be an announcement very soon of who will be inducted into the first class of the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. And we will do a special show on January 18th, the 12th anniversary of CWN, and we'll have some people accepting their awards, hopefully, and talk about those who were inducted. So there's more news to come with that, but do keep track of here or even on Chris Maloney's show, CWN Weekly, and you'll always be in contact with what's happening with the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. So we now turn it over to Jonesy with This Week in History, and I will follow along and try and give a visual of what we're talking about.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I do appreciate what you do because it makes this a lot better, I think. So we're going to go with December 4th to the 10th. We're going to start with December 4th, and there he is. 29 years ago today, Hulk Hogan is stripped of the WWF Championship following a controversial finish to the end of his bout with The Undertaker the previous night at This Tuesday in Texas by WWF President Jack Tunney. He also declares that the winner of the forthcoming 30-man Royal Rumble match would be for the undisputed WWF champion. We got 27 years ago, Kevin Sullivan and Tasmaniac defeated Tommy Dreamer and Shane Douglas, subbing for Johnny Gunn to win the ECW Tag Team Championship. Douglas turned on Dreamer and cost him the match and the titles. 22 years ago today in Salem, India, Ian Rotten defeated Corporal Robinson to win the IWA Mid-South Heavyweight Championship for the fourth time. During the match, Rotten hit Robinson with a window pane containing fluorescent tube lighting. The glass cut an artery above Robinson's temple. With the blood gushing, Rotten quickly double-arm DDT'd him for the win. Quick thinking. Robinson would be hospitalized where he would suffer a brain aneurysm due to a blood clot. Yikes. Yes, is right. 20 years ago today on Raw is War, William Regal defeated Crash Holly by submission to win the WWF European Championship. In the show's main event segment, Vince McMahon takes a last ride, rock bottom, and a Stone Cold Stunner back to back in response to McMahon protesting the weekend's upcoming Hell in the Cell match at Armageddon. 20 years ago today on Nitro, from Lincoln, Nebraska, WCW Commissioner Mike Sanders awards the vacant WCW World Tag Team Championship to Perfect Event, Chuck Palumbo and Sean Stasiak. This was the 15th tag title change since WCW's reboot on April 10th. I think that's really when WCW died, including two title. The rest was a dream. The last season was a dream, including two title vacations. That's about one change every 16 days. On the same taping, but airing on Thunder 2 days later, Saunders, who was also the WCW Cruiserweight Champion, is defeated by the title by Chavo Guerrero. 19 years ago today at a SmackDown taping in Chicago, there was some ass kissing going on as McMahon was to kiss The Rock's ass because the match lost the previous night. But McMahon would end up kissing the returning Rikishi's ass. That's a lot of ass.
And he almost got to kiss Trish Stratus's, but
Rock did he? Oh. 14 years ago today, Paul Heyman leaves WWE just one day after a disastrous December to Dismember pay-per-view. Heyman was sent home following a meeting with Vince and Stephanie McMahon, one that saw Heyman removed from the ECW creative team. Heyman took the fall for the poor show, despite the show having McMahon fingerprints all over it. 11 years ago, Edward Smith Fatu Jr., best known to wrestling fans as Umanga, died of a pair of heart attacks he suffered that day. He was just 36. Born March 28, 1973 in San Francisco, he was a member of the famous Anoya. How do you say that? Anoya?
Anawani.
Anawani, that's better. Anawani wrestling family. His mother, Vera, was the sister of the Wild Samoans. He was the youngest of three brothers. His older brothers, Sam and Solofa, also would be in the wrestling business as the Tonga Kid and Rikishi, respectively. As his cousins, Dwayne Johnson as The Rock, Umanga translated as the end, named after the final and most painful part of the Samoan tattoo process. Umanga's highest profile bout came at WrestleMania 23 when, as the Intercontinental Champion, he beat Jeff Jarrett for the title. He represented Vince McMahon in the Battle of the Billionaires against Donald Trump's charge ECW champion Bobby Lashley, and blah, 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 blah. At the time of his death, he was survived by his wife and 4 children.
And he's the actual uncle of the Usos.
Fantastic. It is too bad that he did pass away so young. 11 years ago today, WWE taped tribute to the troops from Joint Base Balad in Baghdad, Iraq. I have no problem saying these the names from Iraq, but when I start going over to Japan, I have trouble. 7 years ago today, Calgary Mayor Naheed Nancy declared the Hart Mansion a heritage site, the equivalent of a landmark. Originally a home for orphans, Stu Hart purchased the home in 1951 and would become the headquarters of Stampede Wrestling and the basement. Nicknamed the Dungeon, would be the breeding and proving ground for hundreds of wrestlers. And, I think that would actually make a pretty good show for like Netflix or one of them. A story, kind of like that. That would be fantastic. Anyways, it's a happy 36th birthday for Brooke Nicole Adams, best known to wrestling fans as Miss Brooke Tosmacher. The 3-time TNA Knockouts champion and Knockouts Tag Team champion first got her national exposure as a member of ECW's Extreme Expose dance troupe in 2007, before and in between her WWE and TNA runs. Brooke was a bikini and fitness model, competing in pageants for Miss Hawaiian Tropic, Miss Swimsuit USA, and Miss Hooters. Most notably, Brooke appeared in a pair of music videos, Timbaland's Throw It On Me in 2007 and Doro's Bounce Dat in 2011. She also competed on the 25th edition of The Amazing Race, finishing 4th, and broke up with her partner, Robbie E.
Who
All
is
right, let's move
currently
on.
in NXT as I forget his name at the moment.
Our library is broken at the moment.
Yep.
December 5th, 23 years ago today, Doug Furnas and Phil LaFon defeated the Full-Blooded Italians to win the ECW World Tag Team Championships. 16 years ago today, TNA presented Turning Point from the Impact Zone at Universal Orlando. Team Canada, Bobby Roode and Eric Young, with Scott D'Amore, defeated 3 Live Crew, BG James and Ron Killings, to win the NWA World Tag Team Championship. AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, and Randy Savage defeated the Kings of Wrestling, Jeff Jarrett, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. This was the final match in Savage's career. Really, he didn't wrestle much in that match anyways, I don't believe. 15 years ago today, Eric Bischoff's time as Raw General Manager came to an end in spectacular fashion. Made to answer for his failures, his longtime boss in a mock trial by Vince McMahon, Bischoff was dumped in the back of a garbage truck and driven off by the Honorable Mr. McMahon. 10 years ago today, TNA presented Final Resolution from the Impact Zone at Universal Orlando. Rob Van Dam defeated Rhino in a first blood match. Douglas Williams defeated AJ Styles to win the TNA TV belt. Abyss defeated Delangelo De Niro in a casket match. Jeff Jarrett defeated Samoa Joe in a submission match. And Jeff Hardy over Matt Morgan in a no DQ match to retain the TNA World belt. And Mr. Anderson was the special guest referee. 8 years ago today, despite going under the knife for emergency knee surgery just a day earlier, CM Punk surpasses John Cena to become the longest reigning WWE champion of the modern era at 381 days. Punk would run the record to 334 days before being defeated and embarrassed by The Rock at the Royal Rumble event 7 weeks later. I hated the fact that he lost the belt to The Rock. I thought it was so freaking stupid. Anyway. Yeah, I understand why they did it, but December 6th, 31 years ago today in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Candy Devine defeated Judy Martin to win the AWA Women's Championship for the 5th time. Devine would be the last woman to hold the title. She banded it just before the promotion shut down in January 91. 22 years ago today, Chris Candido and Night Storm defeated Doug Furnace and Phil LaFawn and Axel Rotten and Balls Mahoney in a 3-way dance to win the ECW World Tag Team Championship. The win comes just a day after the Can-Am Express. Furnace and LaFawn won the titles. 22 years ago today, WWF presented the UK exclusive pay-per-view Capital Carnage from London, England. The show is noted for Russ suffering a Bell's palsy attack while commentating the show, coming just hours after his mother died of a heart attack. Draws defeated Bosch. The Headbangers defeated the Legion of Doom. The Legion of Doom was Draw as an animal. At that time, Tiger Ali Singh defeated Edge. The Rock defeated X-Pac by DQ to retain the WWF belt. And Stone Cold Steve Austin defeated Mankind, and The Undertaker in the fatal 4-way match. Jared Briscoe was the special guest referee. 21 years ago today on Nitro, Jushin Thunder Liger defeated Psychosis, substituting for the injured Juventud Guerrera, to win the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship for the 11th time, and would be the last time this belt changed hands on American soil until 2000. Oh, sorry, that's up to 2016. April 2019 in New York, it did come back and change hands. Side note, for a few years, the title didn't, there it is, all blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I confused myself. 18 years ago today, World Wrestling All-Stars presented the Retribution. Lex Luger defeated Sting to win the vacated WWA World Heavyweight Champion. Scott Steiner, the former champion, vacated the title when he signed with WWE. 17 years ago today, Michael Jerome Tweet, best known to wrestling fans as The Wall or Sergeant AWOL, and Malice in TNA, died of a heart attack in Tokyo, Japan. He was only 36. Born December 27th, 1966 in Orange Grove, New Jersey. Tuet, that's it, broke into the wrestling business, training at Iron Mike Sharp's wrestling school. Also a protege of Bam Bam Bigelow. He furthered his training at the WCW power plant in Atlanta. On December 6, 2001, Tuet was found unconscious in his hotel room by All Japan Wrestling Management and several wrestlers in Tokyo, Japan. I'm going to sneeze in a second. The official cause of death was a heart attack. And I'm just going to take a really quick.
Carrying on with this, 16 years ago on Raw, Lita defeated Trish Stratus to win the WWE Women's Championship. It was the last time a women's match closed the show until October 4th, 2016, when Sasha Banks defeated Charlotte for the new version of the WWE Women's Championship. 12 years ago today, Dennis Rodman won the Hulk Hogan Celebrity Championship Wrestling. Rodman was the winner over former child actor Todd Bridges in the finals. 11 years ago today, AAA presented Guerra de War of Titans in English. I'm not going to try and butcher the Spanish there, but it's the War of Titans. In one of the featured belts, El Malaysia defeated El Zorro in a ladder match to win the vacant AAA World Heavyweight Championship. Charlie Manson was the special referee. 11 years ago in Tampa, Florida, Oleg Plague, protest, best known to wrestling fans as Vladimir Kozlov, officially became an American citizen 1 year later to the day he and Santino Marella won the WWE Tag Team titles in a 4-team title match.
Wow, some of those names are brutal, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
And you know what? For future ones, next weeks that I did, I believe I took out the some of like the Guerrero de Titans, War of Titans. Some of this, I can learn, but then when it comes to it, I fucking forget how to say it again. So now from now on, no offense to the Mexican speaking people out there, but some of this I will be obliterating the. I've been really destroying the Mexican and the Japanese stuff, so I'm trying to be a little more respectful. I want to go with the English. So we're going to continue now. Thank you so much.
If you see on the screen, quite the change that he went over
Yes,
the years.
absolutely.
And carrying on.
6 years ago today, UFC announces that they have signed Phil Brooks, best known to wrestling fans as CM Punk, to a multi-fight deal. Today would have been the 86th birthday for Nicholas Warren Francis Bockwinkel, or simply Nick Bockwinkel. He was 80. In March 2007, he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. In 2010, made a cameo appearance on Raw as a part of the Legends Lumberjack match. 33 years ago today, WWF taped the 14th edition of the Saturday Night's Main Event. The show would air on January 2nd, 1988. Strike Force, Tito and Rick Martel defeated the Bolsheviks, Nikolai, see now I want to say Nikita Koloff all the time, Nikolai Volkov and Boris Zukov, 2-0 in a best 2 out of 3 falls match to retain the WWF Tag Team Championship. And I'd like to point out, I would like to see more best 2 out of 3 matches in tag. It actually makes a lot of sense, especially like in championship ones, they could just do it normal, but I really like again, old WCW used to do it a lot, and it's just, it gives both teams, especially jobbers and that, a chance to shine, and it's not just, crush match. They can tell a better story with it.
WWE did that a lot in that era with the tag team titles and tag teams, especially on Saturday Night's Main Event. It was really good and different. So it would be a welcome bring back.
In fact, I'm pretty sure Ventura has said before on commentating that he actually prefers the 2. Actually, and so doesn't Tony Schiavone, I think, prefers it too. Anyways. And Hulk Hogan defeated King Kong Bundy to retain the WWF Championship. 32 years ago today, WCW presented Clash of the Champions 4 Seasons Beatings. It was the first major event to be presented under the WCW banner, though they were still very much affiliated with the NWA. The Fantastics, Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers, defeated Eddie Gilbert and Ron Simmons to win the vacated NWA United States Tag Team Championship. Steve Williams defeated the Italian Stallion. Road Warrior Animal defeated Dusty Rhodes by DQ to gain possession of the NWA World Six-Man Tag Team Championship. The Road Warriors dumped Rhodes and chose Generico Tenryu as their new partner. The Four Horsemen, Barry Windham and Ric Flair, defeated the Midnight Express, Bobby Eaton, and Stan Lane. 31 years ago today, William D. Haystacks Calhoun died. He was 55. Born on August 3rd, 1934 in McKinney, Texas, Calhoun grew up on a farm about 30 miles north of Dallas. Calhoun was an unusually large child. A regular breakfast would often include a dozen eggs. By age 14, he weighed over 300 pounds. He doubled his weight by his early 20s. His weight was not a burden at first. Manual labor on the farm was a breeze for Calhoun, as he had the strength of several men. Legend has it that he was discovered by some wrestling promoters that saw him literally pick up and move cows across the field. Holy crap, that would be awesome to see. I would pay to see that. Someone needs to do that. If you know a person that's strong enough to actually lift up a cow, I'm telling you, you can make a ton of freaking money. The talent would become handy at the town hall on singles dance events. Yeah, that was a little side joke I wrote, and then I ruined it by blabbing other stuff. Anyways, he broke into wrestling business in 1955 under local promoter and first NWA world champion Orville Brown. Competing primarily in Houston, Kansas City, and Canada. His natural breakthrough would come on the variety show Art Linkletter's House Party, where Calhoun demonstrated his immense strength, including tossing bales of hay into a high loft. His appearance would bless him with the nickname Haystacks. Only one man was able to lift Calhoun, and that was Bruno Sammartino. At the height of his popularity, he was at times more sought after than the world champion. Calhoun teamed with Mountain Man Mike when he wrestled out west. At a combined weight of over 1,200 pounds, the duo made up the second heaviest tag team professional wrestling history and the horror to local all-you-can-eat buffets. Though he had never won a world singles title, he won tag team championships in the United States and Canada and was briefly one half of the WWF Tag Team Champions in 1973. Sadly, Calhoun's weight and declining health at the height of his career, he weighed about 640 pounds, forced him into retirement. He would sadly lose his leg to diabetes in 1986 and would be confined to a double-wide trailer for the remainder of his life. It would be diabetes that ultimately claimed his life at age 55.
Much like Kamala.
Yes, poor guy. Yeah, all these legs have been lost, man. 24 years ago today, ECW presented Holiday Hell and would air as matches for ECW Hardcore TV. Raven defeated the Sandman in a barbed wire massacre match to win the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. 23 years ago today, WWF presented D-Generation X in Your House. The show was noted for the finals to crown the first WWF Light Heavyweight Champion of the modern era, the first appearance of Owen Hart since the infamous Montreal Screwjob, and the first singles match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock on pay-per-view. Taka Michinoku defeated Brian Christopher to win the vacated WWF Light Heavyweight Championship. Vacated, you ask? Yes, it was an old WWF title had with UWA back in the 80s that WWF rebooted, including who was first to hold it. And I did not know this, and it's kind of funny. I just thought it was a new belt they created way back then. And Triple H has...
And oddly enough, when I think it was Ultimate Dragon, when he showed up in WCW with all those titles, one of them was the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship that Bischoff didn't realize, or they would have probably done something with. But all those belts that you see Dragon and I think at one point Liger carrying around, one of them was that title. But it was always being defended in Japan.
Yeah. I remember that when he brought all those belts because Sonny Ono, I believe, was carrying some of them for him. That's why you have a manager, folks, so you can win that many championships. So you can have your manager also, he could have had like a golf bag, I like that championship now. 21 years ago today at a Thunder taping in Madison, Wisconsin, Bret Hart and Goldberg defeated Creative Control, Gerald and Patrick to win the WCW World Tag Team Championship. 13 years ago today, WWE taped Tribute to the Troops from Tariq, Iraq. The show aired as a special edition on Raw on Christmas Eve. 12 years ago today, TNA presented Final Resolution from the Impact Zone at the Universal Orlando Studios. Curry Man Hernandez, Homicide, and Jay Lethal each won a feast or fried briefcase gimmick match. 10 years ago today, at a TNA Impact taping at Universal Orlando, I didn't omit that. Oh well. Jay Lethal defeated Robbie E to win the TNA X Division Championship. It's a happy 35th birthday for Jonathan Good, known to wrestling fans these days as Dean Ambrose or Jon Moxley. Was one of the most successful indie wrestlers in the world, most notably winning the CZW World Heavyweight Championship twice, and the Full Impact Pro World Championship once, and the Heartland Wrestling Association Championship 3 times. He also won championships for Insanity Pro Wrestling and the International Wrestling Association. On the independents, Good has also competed for Ring of Honor, Jersey Old Pro Wrestling Evolve, Dragon Gate USA. In 2011, Good signed with WWE, and the rest is history. Today is the 48th birthday of Tamara Lynn Cinch, best known as WWE Diva Cine. And you know what? I had to check, Google it, because I thought she was dead. Wasn't she dead? I swear
No.
she died. And I'm glad
did.
she didn't, not knocking on this fake wood, but okay, because you know what? I thought she's died before. And I'm like,
No.
what?
She's just gone to jail numerous
Yeah.
times. Hence the mugshot that I have up right now. But
You know,
let's
she
go back
she
to-
would fit great on that Shameless show. She would look great as one of the people in the bar that Hank goes to.
Yeah.
So today is the 48th birthday of, we just said it. Today would have been the 62nd birthday of Richard Irwin Rude, spelled R-O-O-D, best known to wrestling fans as Ravishing Rick Rude. Born in St. Peter, Minnesota, he attended Robinson High School with Tom Zink, Brady Boone, John Nord, Barry Darso, Brady Boone, and close friend Kurt Hennig, all of whom went on to become pro wrestlers. Wow, what a class.
Brady
He made
Boone
his
was Battle Cat.
yes, Battle Cat. He made his debut in 1982 as a babyface jobber, Ricky Rude. Starting with Vancouver-based NWA All-Star Wrestling, he would wrestle for Georgia Championship Wrestling, Continental Wrestling Association out of Memphis, and Jim Crockett Promotions before returning to Memphis in 1984 as Ravishing Rick Rude, an overconfident, arrogant heel. Yada yada yada. He took off his robe and became a legend. You know what? I put that there. I didn't quite do it right, but honestly, yes, Rick Rude was a fantastic wrestler. Besides that, I didn't think much of him. He was okay on a microphone, but he did the same damn thing, whether he was in WWF or when he went over to WCW. I thought that was a guy that, yes, he could wrestle like a champion, but he even looked like a champion, but he was wrestling. Anyways, I just thought he was a one-trick pony with his gimmick, and that was it. Not like layers of other wrestlers have had.
I was actually surprised to find out that he didn't like Bobby Heenan as his manager.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. Yeah,
I liked Rick Rude, but yeah, it's a shame that he didn't really go further. Didn't help that they kept on booking him with the Ultimate Warrior, but it is what it is.
I really liked him, but I after a while, he was kind of almost like a Bret Hart. He was doing the same stuff in the ring too. Like pretty much every single match, it was the same thing. His back, favoring his back, selling the same thing. It's like, like every time. 23 years ago today on Nitro from Buffalo, New York, Disco Inferno defeated Perry Saturn to win the WCW World Television Championship. 23 years ago today on Raw is War, Steve Austin forfeits his IC title to The Rock, stuns him, repossesses the belt, only then to chuck it in the river somewhere in New Hampshire the next night, which a lot of people believe it's still there. Or somewhere in that vicinity. Austin formally began his pursuit of the WWF Championship, which he would win 4 months later at WrestleMania 14. 19 years ago today in Glasgow, Scotland, Psychosis defeated Juventud Guerrero to win the World Wrestling All-Stars Intercontinental Cruiserweight Champion. Psychosis would then steal a local transit bus with Juventud and party all night long while trying to run down tourists. 15 years ago today, ABC announces that WWE diva Stacy Keibler would appear on the second season of Dancing with the Stars. She eventually made it all the way to the finals, finishing third. 14 years ago today, WWE presented Tribute to the Troops from Camp Victory in Baghdad, Iraq. The show would air on Christmas Day. 12 years ago today, WWE revives the Slammy Awards on a special extended edition of Raw. These were the first Slammies presented by the company since '97. The Superstar of the Year was Jericho. Match of the Year was Flair versus Michaels at WrestleMania 24. And the Diva of the Year was Beth Phoenix. And it's a happy 56th birthday today for Yoshi legend Chigusa Nagoyo. Born in Omura, Nagasaki, Japan, Naguro, in her prime, was a national hero in her native land as one half of the Crush Gals with Lioness Asuka. Their success wasn't just limited to the ring. The duo had several top 10 pop music singles. Following Matsumoto's mandated retirement, all AJW performers were forced to retire once they turned 26. Nagayo would chase the WWWA World Heavyweight Championship, winning it in August 1988 from Yakira Omori. In 1995, with the retirement age lifted, Nagayo returned to the ring for her own organization. Gia Japan, Nagao retired in April 2005, just 1 week after wrestling in Gaia's final Japan's final event. Wow. There we go, wet my whistle. Today, she's promoting again, having launched Yoshi Promotion Marvelous in May 2016. Nagayo, often cited as an inspiration for many Yoshis, is a member of the Wrestling Observer's Newsletter Hall of Fame class of '97. December 9th. 46 years ago today in Toyohashi, Japan, Jack Briscoe defeated Giant Baba to win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. 25 years ago today, ECW presented December to Dismember from the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Selected matches from the event would air on Hardcore TV. Dances with Dudley and Dudley defeated Bad Breed, Axel and Ian Rotten in just 2 minutes. Raven defeated Tommy Dreamer, and the Sandman defeated Mickey Whipwreck and Steve Austin in a three-way dance to win the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. This was Austin's last bout in an ECW ring. He'd only wrestle a total of 2 matches in his brief time with the company, both losing efforts for the ECW title. 19 years ago today, WWF presented Vengeance. The show's hook was a one-night tournament to unify the WWF and former WCW world titles to create the WWF Undisputed Championship. The Undertaker defeated RVD to win the WWF Hardcore belt. Chris Jericho defeated Steve Austin and unified the WWF and World Heavyweight belts, and became the first WWF Undisputed Champion. Our champion, as he likes to say now.
He beat The Rock and Stone Cold in the same night.
You know, Jericho has pretty much done it all, and I never thought he would. I've never been a huge fan of his, but you know, he's entertaining on the mic, that's for sure. 16 years ago today in Osaka, Japan, Shinsuke Nakamura defeated Hiroshi Tenzan to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. 12 years ago today, Ron Killings announced that he had left TNA. He became the first African American to hold the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. He would win it he would win it a second time in May 2004 for 2 weeks. In later years, Killings was a part of 3 Live Crew with BG James twice and Conan. He would return to the WWF under the name R-Truth. And first in WWF, his name was K-Quick. 10 years ago today, at an Impact taping, Angelina Love and Winter defeated Madison Rayne and Tara in a tournament final to win the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championship. It's a happy 52nd birthday for Kurt Steven Angle. Born in Mount Lebanon, Pennsylvania, Angle began wrestling at age 7. Angle was a dominant wrestler throughout his high school years, going undefeated his freshman year, and qualifying for the state wrestling tournament the next 3 years, winning his senior year. That dominance carried over to the collegiate ranks, winning the NCAA division, national championship at 100 kilograms for Clarendon University of Pennsylvania twice, and named a 3-time NCAA division All-American. He was also a national junior and senior wrestling freestyle wrestling champion. In 1995, Angle won a gold medal at the FILA Wrestling World Championships at 100 kilograms. The next year, despite losing his coach to murder and suffering a severe neck injury, Angle won the gold medal at the 1996 Summer Olympics. He's one of only 4 people to complete amateur wrestling's Grand Slam, winning Junior Nationals, NCAA Nationals, World Champion, and Olympics. In pro wrestling, Angle amassed 21 total championships. 13 of them were world titles. Kurt is the only man to hold WWF's, WCW, TNA's, and IWGP's top prizes. He's the only man to win both a King of the Mountain match, he did it so twice, and the King of the Ring tournament. And that's just the beginning of Angle's accomplishments. He indeed does not suck. December 10th, 48 years ago today in Rice Lake, Wisconsin, Ric Flair makes his professional wrestling debut with a 10-minute time limit draw against George Gadzak. Who's that, you say? Well, here's a little bit on him. He was born in Limerick, Saskatchewan. And here's a snippet from an article from canoe.ca about his dedication to the wrestling business. And again, this is the first guy that Ric Flair wrestled. He once spent over 5 hours shoveling 2 feet of snow to clear a path from his house in Wisconsin in order to make a show scheduled for that night in North Dakota. It has been said that George once fell in his car some 30 feet off a bridge after falling asleep at the wheel. Miraculously, the car landed on all 4 wheels, and Gaddafi still made the show he was scheduled to participate in that night. Not even being diagnosed with a brain tumor could bend the will of Scrap Iron, his nickname, as he continued his rigorous workouts even while enduring chemotherapy. Gaddafi eventually lost his battle with cancer in December of 1982, but his hard-nosed determination and dedication to the sport are fondly remembered by his fellow competitors to this day. And you know what? That's really neat. Someone that I never heard of, and you learn a little bit, and lots of other stories out there.
That's why we do this.
That's right. And that would be a final Jeopardy question right there. You wouldn't have to know all that shit, just his name. 47 years ago today in New York City, Bruno Sammartino defeated Stan Stasiak to win the WWF Championship. The win made Sammartino the first man to win the WWF title more than once. 45 years ago today in Miami, Florida, Terry Funk defeated Jack Briscoe to win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. The win made the Funk brothers, along with Dory, the first and to this day only brothers to hold the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. 21 years ago today in Osaka, Japan, I usually can say that name. Shiro. Oh, it's horrible. Tenru defeated Kenji Muda to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. And in fact, I'm pretty sure I said that earlier. Generico, isn't it? Generico or something? Shiro. Anyways, 20 years ago today, WWF presented Armageddon from the Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center in Birmingham, Alabama. Of note to this day, Armageddon 2000 remains the only WWE pay-per-view event held in Alabama. And that was confirmed till December 3rd, 2020. Val Venus defeated China. Chris Jericho defeated Kane in the last standing match. Benoit defeated Billy Gunn to win the WWF IC Championship. Kurt Angle defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, and The Undertaker, Rikishi, and The Rock in a six-man Hell in a Cell to retain the WWF Championship. 13 years ago today, WWE presented the Raw 15th Anniversary Special. 10 years ago at ROH taping in Louisville. Holy crap.
Louisville.
Kentucky. I know Louisville. The last few bits here. That's it. My mouth is done. Christopher Daniels defeated Eddie Edwards to win the ROH World Television Championship. It's a happy 36th birthday for Jason Anthony Paul, best known to wrestling fans as JTG. And a quick bet on him. Born in Brooklyn, New York, Paul began his career as the Neighborhoodie in 2006. Teaming with Shad Gaspard in OVW, they would be then known as Crime Time on the WWE's roster. And that is it for this week in pro wrestling history.
Well, once again, we thank you for bringing nostalgia to the show and being a part of that. Different birthdays, spotlighting people you hadn't even heard of, and also looking back at great or not so great events that happened on pay-per-view, which you can either get on WWE Network or Impact Plus, wherever you find your pay-per-views for. So stuff to look back on and relive. Nostalgia is always a great thing. So thank you again for bringing that to us. And this concludes episode number 132 of the podcast. Excuse me. So next week we're going to do some news and look forward to, I believe TLC will be coming up on the weekend. So we'll do a preview of that and predictions, and of course this week in history. So be sure to get your t-shirts, support Steven's Wrestling Journey and Sick Kids Hospital. And until next week, have a good one.
Hey wrestling fans, it's Sean from the Scumbags of Wrestling. It might not look like Christmas right now, but it is around the corner, and you won't want to miss out on this amazing deal in support of Sick Kids Hospital on behalf of Steven's Wrestling Journey. Right now, if you contact me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com, you'll get this amazing t-shirt designed by Nigel Lewis for just $30. And because it's Christmas, I'm going to throw in this stocking stuffer of a poster, 11 by 17, for free. Now you can still get this poster for $15, but you can get the whole combo for $30 right now until December 15th. So contact me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com and support Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto and Steven's Wrestling Journey.